Changing our children's view of themselves is probably one of the hardest jobs of a parent, if not the hardest job. So, how do we do it? I think that the answer lies in this week's Parsha. But this idea, this yesod, is so much bigger than just any single Parsha. Most people often think of this Parsha to be exclusively for the Kohanim. After all, it starts off with Emor el HaKohanim, that Moshe should tell the Kohanim. However, if you look right before the Aseret HaDibrot, God speaks to Moshe and charges him to instruct the Jewish people to become a Mamlechas Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh, to become a Mamlechas Kohanim, meaning a nation of priests, and a Goy Kadosh, a holy nation. What this is clearly showing us is that we're all supposed to be an entire nation of priests, not just a select few. One, little section within this nation is priests, but we should all become a nation of priests. Hashem is articulating that the Jewish people's mission, this is their mission statement. We are supposed to push ourselves to all be like Kohanim in a certain way. We are all Kohanim in a certain way. The reason that Hashem commanded Moshe to instruct us of this is because that is the leader or the parent's role, to change the way the child views themselves. So how do we do it? Very often, when a child is consistently behaving in the wrong way, we, as parents, need to work so hard not to reinforce what they're doing by saying, there you go again, or to give them negative feedback of what they're saying and try to say, don't do that, or stop doing, you always do that. That's so frustrating. If we hold ourselves back about that, and rather than focus on the negative and focus on what they're doing, and actually take a very big step back and think about, okay, first things first, are there any roles that a child has put themselves into, meaning there are any roles that a child has in their life that has put them into like a box that forces them to think of themselves in a certain way, right? And then, so that's first step, right? Are there any roles that, let's say in home or in school, that has caused the child to sort of think of themselves in a specific way? And then try to think, okay, are there any positive aspects to that role? Okay, so first things first, what is the role? Number two, what are the positive aspects? Meaning, like, for example, let's say a child is very, very intense, and sometimes it comes off as a little frustrating. It's like a little too much, and you need things to be a little calmer in the home. So on the one hand, that's yes, it can be very challenging. But on the other hand, there is a positive aspect here. The positive aspect of that, this child is very driven and has a lot of emotions, and that can be put towards the right way. And then last thing to do is to actually think, how would you like your child to think of themselves? So if we take these three steps, we think about what is the role. And actually one step before that, we stop focusing on what the bad thing that they're doing and actually point out positive things, give very specific positive compliments towards your child. That will actually get them to focus on the good thing that they're doing as opposed to the negative. And then, so that'll just get that to stop. And then you actually can take a proactive approach of, okay, first things first, what is the role? Second, what are the positive aspects of this role? What are things that I can focus on with my child that show him how positive it is that he has this component to himself or herself? And lastly, how would you like them to think of themselves? Whatever you answer to that last question, it should inform the way that you interact with your child, the way that you speak to your child. Because if you want them to think of themselves in a negative way, then fine, you'll keep going and give them the negative feedback. But if you want them to think of themselves in a positive way, which I think every parent would like to, then we have to think about, how do we talk to our child in a way that gets them to think about themselves in that positive way? How do we get our child to focus on that positive aspect of themselves and to focus on it and to really start to think, okay, that is who I am. I hope that we can use this Parsha and this discussion to really dive into this deep idea, this very fundamental parenting idea, to hopefully change the way that our children think about themselves. Wishing you all an incredible Shabbos.